Fugitive is brought to you by Pfizer.
Welcome to Tairimo Boys Podcast. I'm your host, Cody. With me in second chair is the boy who's wanted for 983 instances of jaywalking. It's Jeremy.
Always on the run.
With me in third chair is the boy who's a master of derailing trains. It's Ryan.
What's up?
Today, we're going to be visiting one of Harrison Ford's other movies that's not Indiana Jones with Fugitive. So, starting off, here's a little fun fact about The Fugitive. I have never seen this movie. The other two boys, they've seen it and they loved it.
Seen it many, many times.
So, before I give my first thoughts, Jeremy, give me yours.
Oh boy, the greatest adaptation of hide and seek to hit the big screen.
I think they called it cat and mouse before hide and seek.
Cat and mouse. There you go.
Or was it a case of cat and also cat? Ryan, what about you?
It's pure nostalgia coursing through my veins every time I watch it.
Ryan's got
Sure
quite
is,
the
isn't it?
connection to this film.
Wonder why.
Couldn't be the main actor involved, could it?
No bias for Harrison Ford or
Perhaps.
anything.
As for me, like I said, it was my first time watching this movie, and I absolutely loved it. This,
There we go.
early in the movie, I was like,
Welcome to the club.
I was thinking, it's like, am I gonna enjoy this movie? But as it went on, I saw what makes this movie so good and enjoyable, and got aboard the derail train.
The hype derailed train.
So, anyone who's unfamiliar with this movie, stars Harrison Ford. He plays was it a heart surgeon?
What they specifically
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
cardiovascular surgeon.
It was vascular. That was the word they kept using. So, and that's hard, I guess. Someone ends up breaking into his house and murdering his wife. The person that murders his wife, it's a very, very unique person, but they don't find this very, very unique person, and he ends up taking the fall for it and gets arrested on his way to prison because he gets the death penalty. He ends up finding a way to escape, and him and Tommy Lee Jones, who plays U.S. Marshal, they end up playing a game of cat and also cat, where Harrison Ford's trying to find out who murdered his wife, and Tommy Lee Jones's character is trying to throw him back behind bars.
I say, Tommy Lee Jones was born for this role, wasn't he?
Yep.
Absolutely fits it perfect.
Yeah, he gave off like a certain level of charisma that was like really important for this role. And I just loved how like thorough he was. Like he really cared about his work. For instance, there's multiple times throughout the movie. It's like, oh yeah, Dr. Kimball, who's Harrison Ford's character. Yeah, everyone's saying, oh, he's dead. He couldn't have survived that. And he's like, then bring me back the body, and just keeps on like doing like,
His job.
yeah, his job. Everyone was ready to hit those showers throughout the movie. I'm going to start off by asking something a little different this time. Jeremy, what makes a good pursuit movie?
In this particular case, suspension, but also being in the moment of Richard as he's like, I don't know, I guess I'm like the tension that he's trying to figure out who killed his wife the entire time while being chased and kind of being one step ahead, I would say. A lot of tension. Also problem solving. Harrison Ford style.
What do you think, Ryan?
Here's what it is for me. Tension plus a little room for the movie to breathe plus humor. That's all I can think of right now. I know there was one more. I just forgot it.
I mean, humor does help break up some like more tense moments.
Yeah.
It does. It keeps it from going too.
I mean, it's certainly not like Marvel movies type of humor.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking humor, it's stuff like Harrison Ford's character renting a apartment from a bunch of Russians, and the police breaking down like the upper section and arresting the son for drug dealing, stuff like that. But you boys hit the nail on the head with this. You've got to have tension with this. You've got to have the main character who's being pursued. He has to stay one step ahead, but the pursuee, who's doing the pursuing, I guess that's what that means. But he's got to be like right behind him. Just narrow escapes are like really great in this movie.
Yes, they are. Also, speaking of humor, Tommy Lee Jones had some of the best lines in this movie.
Well, first off, I think everyone did like amazing in this movie.
Spot on cast.
But
Spot on cast.
the one I remember is Tommy Lee Jones calling the guys like, yeah, make sure these guys know that not to make fun of your ponytail.
That's why Tommy Lee Jones won an Oscar for this movie. Because the most humorless bastard actually turned in a good performance as a charismatic, funny guy. I don't know why I'm so hung up on Tommy Lee Jones being a grumpy asshole.
That's just the way I view him. I could imagine that's Tommy Lee Jones. Like when I was watching this movie, I was like, I feel like that's him. I don't even think he's acting at this point. This is natural.
And not to mention Harrison Ford's role as Dr. Kimball. He was just perfect in the role. Early in the movie, whenever like right after his wife got murdered, he's being interrogated. Like you can hear him just acting and having like the panic in his voice. And then eventually, like after the newness of that kind of wears out, and he's being pursued, you just hear him. He just moves perfectly into the role of like, hey, I'm having to contact people from my past that I was like really good friends with, and being able to get their help. I'm just surprised I've never seen this movie before.
I'm surprised you haven't either.
Like I kept thinking, is like, have I seen this before? And like, the answer kept coming up, nope, because I don't remember. If I did see it, I do not remember a second of it.
I'll say nostalgia is a hell of a drug. Obviously, Harrison Ford is in it, so I'm gonna like it. But I mean, it was just a great movie overall.
It's the second movie based on a television show I actually surprisingly liked.
What was the first movie?
Mission Impossible.
Well, you kind of ruined one of my fun facts. I was going to mention that, yeah, this is based on a TV series. So here's another fun fact. The train derailment, which is famous from this movie. For the audience at home who hasn't seen it, what happens is he escapes before he gets to jail, but the bunch of the other prisoners do a prison break on the bus on the way there. And the bus crashes and the train ends up crashing into it and derailing the train. Well, I kind of noticed like they did a lot of effort on this whole train derailment thing, like pyrotechnics and all these angles. They literally derailed an actual train for that scene. The total cost of it was $1 million, but that's in 1993 money, so probably worth a couple more $1 million in today's money.
You did that for real?
Yes, and
Who directed this movie? Chris Nolan?
who did direct it? Andrew Davis directed it.
Dedication.
One of Chris Nolan's aliases.
No, it looks like this guy really directed. I mean, this was really
Yeah.
his star on the Christmas tree.
And what a star it was.
Everything else was kind of, yeah, stuff like Holes, The Under Siege, The Guardian. Anyways, so Jeremy, what did you think about the whole mystery behind the death of Dr. Kimball's wife?
I was on the edge of my seat the first time I watched this movie. I did not expect so many twists.
Just watching it, I kind of thought, I was like, yeah, he's probably gonna find out the killer, but then they go and do this whole twist thing with it. And it's like, whoa, that surprised me completely. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I love the twist. I love that I watched it as an older man because I actually understood it as opposed to when I watched it as a kid. I was like, wow, that's Harrison Ford.
True, it hits different now that you can actually understand the plot.
Yeah.
No, it made a lot more sense after we reviewed Watchmen. People at home, don't forget to watch our Watchmen review.
Yes, watch The Watchmen.
Yeah, because it's kind of the same ordeal that Moloch was doing in that movie.
Spoiler alert, Moloch has a mechanical arm.
You guys know who the true villain of this movie was?
Capitalism.
Go ahead, take a guess. Oh, that's a good one. Ryan, guesses?
The pharmaceutical industry.
Boom! Big Pharma.
Big Pharma.
Where have we seen that before?
Fugitive is brought to you by Pfizer.
Yeah, so I don't want to spoil the whole plot twist for the people at home, but I do want to say that I think if the main villain would have cooperated with the marshals, his plan probably would have succeeded. So, before getting in the next segment, here's another fun fact. Did you know that Harrison Ford injured his leg in the woods scene, and he basically did not go to a doctor for it until they were done filming the movie? Because he wanted to keep the limp throughout the whole movie in order to give off the idea that he hurt himself.
Oh my god, that totally explains the limp. That's a great fun fact.
Sure didn't go to the hospital because he killed his wife.
Couldn't trust him anymore.
Well, I mean, he did go to the hospital a lot of times in this movie.
He did. But without a beard. The old Clark Kent disguise. Kind of.
I mean, to be fair, if you're trying to like hide from the police, the beard probably needs to be the first thing, and then hair dye has to be the second thing.
Oh, yeah.
Which he did both.
Yes, he did. He should have dyed it again though after they caught on, or at least shaved himself bald. But as soon as they ID when you're bald, your disguise-o-meter kind of fails. Then
And he also became Mexican for a while.
he basically stole a Mexican guy's ID and was using it to act as a janitor in the hospital. What I loved about this movie too was that like multiple times throughout it, he almost like blows his whole escape from the police plan by just like helping people. The first time he's at the hospital, the police officer that got stabbed on the jail bus, he's being brought in, and then Harrison Ford like shuts him up before he can blow his cover and tells the medics pulling him. It's like, oh yeah, he appears to have a stab in the abdomen. And then one of them goes, "Oh, you could tell that just by looking at his face." And then there was a time where he was masquerading as the janitor, and he probably has like ribs impaling his lungs. Instead of bringing him to like observation, Dr. Kimball just like takes him straight to surgery and then forges the papers in order to get him in there.
Excellent scene.
But yeah, the lady doctor ends up calling him out and confiscating his ID, and then he quickly escapes. Now, here's another little fun fact. So the lady doctor was supposed to play a bigger role in this movie, and he was supposed to fall in love with her, but they ended up cutting that out of the movie. Thank God.
Thank God.
He's
It
ready.
wouldn't have such a. The ending would have not been as impactful.
Apparently, well, he wouldn't have been in a happy marriage if he was ready to move on that fast. Now, Ryan, are you familiar with like all the complications in making this movie?
As there was a bunch of problems with the script, according to Harrison Ford, and that's all I ever knew. Apparently, he said it wasn't fun to make, but it was a really good movie.
I saw a little bit on it, and they were saying like they were constantly changing the script. Even when on set they were changing the script. And Harrison Ford, they only had him for a select amount of time, so they ended up editing the whole movie together, and I think it was like 10 weeks before it was released in theaters.
Thank you, Harrison Ford, for your suffering. What a masterpiece you helped create.
Oh, and by the way, whenever we were talking about Harrison Ford's injuries, you know, the other movie that reminded me of Ryan.
Well, Doom.
Yep. So, for anyone who doesn't know, Harrison Ford was like really hurt during the filming of that movie, and a lot of the pain he's in and sweating, that's because of his injury. And he really couldn't relax and wait for it to heal while they made that movie.
The key to success, he just has to be injured first.
Well, I mean, it just shows you how like dedicated to his craft Harrison Ford is. He might not care about Force Ghosts, but sure cares about getting into a role.
Do you have the other fun fact about this movie that has to do with Indiana Jones before I step on it?
I don't think so. Go ahead.
Have you ever seen, has anybody ever seen the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles?
I
I
have not.
Me and you watched it together when I was a kid, but I do not remember a single thing about it.
In the show, there's a young Indiana Jones, and every episode is bookended by an old as fuck Indiana Jones with an eye patch telling the story of the episode. One episode, though, featured Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones, and he's got a beard. Unfortunately, he doesn't look exactly like he does in the movies because he's sporting a beard, and he has the beard because he was shooting The Fugitive when he made the show.
Ooh, that was a good fun fact.
So I take points against the movie for that.
So what you're saying is he lost his eye after Dial of Destiny.
Yep, had to be. Marion probably stabbed him.
I lost a lot of things after the Dial of Destiny.
It was mostly your real lunch.
Lunch, will to live, all right out the window.
All right, it is time for Jeremy's favorite segment, Boys in Action.
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy's all antsy waiting for this one. Jeremy, if you were in this movie, where would you have died?
Oh, the train, easily. Getting bounced around like that? Oh, yep, I'm dead.
Cracked your skull open on the top of the bus's roof.
Oh, yeah, all over the place.
What about you, Ryan?
The train scene, but shortly after that, you know when he busts out the window and he's trying to like crawl out of it? And he's in like this sitting position and he forces himself out the window. I get
Yeah.
stuck in the window and then the train just hits me.
You know, I thought about that too, but in reality, what would have happened is whenever I was tussling with the one armed guy, he probably would have grabbed my head and smacked it against the corner of like a dresser, and I would have just died with my wife.
What a way to go.
Credits.
Big pharmaceutical wins again.
Yeah.
They always do.
So a little fun fact about the TV show: it ended with him going after the one-armed man. Apparently, the whole pharmaceutical plot was just added for this movie. All right. So, Jeremy, I'm passing the topic on to you.
Thought about a couple for this one, but I'm gonna go with what was your guys' favorite Tommy Lee quote or moments? Ryan, what do you got? You got anything?
Oh man,
There's a lot to
there's a
choose from,
lot.
really.
It's like a gold mine in this movie.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll go first. My favorite is whenever the movie's tricking you into thinking like, oh, they're about to corner Dr. Kimball, but it's like the other inmate that escaped. But the inmate grabs like one of Tommy Lee's marshals and takes him hostage, and then Tommy Lee sneaks around and shoots the criminal. And as soon as like they go outside, like the younger guy who was the hostage is just like, oh, my ear, my ear. I think I got permanent damage in here. It's like, hey, you could have shot me. It's like, why don't you bargain with him? Yeah, he gets like really close to him. It's like, oh, I don't bargain, and like whispers it because he kind of gets the idea that the younger marshal is just putting on a show because he's panicked from what happened.
That was a good one.
But he stole mine, so I'm gonna have to go with another one. I'm gonna go with hate to do it, but the classic hen house, outhouse, warehouse, and doghouse during the introduction.
Yeah, that's whenever he's requesting that. He's telling like all the police and search parties to search for find this damn criminal.
That was a good one too. I know. I liked. Besides the two obvious ones that you guys chose, I like his funnier moments as well. When Harrison Ford jumps from the dam, and Tommy Lee is like he pulled a goddamn Peter Pan.
Yep.
Love that. And then I loved towards the end when Dr. Kimball is chasing the bad guy and they're on top of the building and the Chicago police helicopter is flying around and he's like he keeps telling the US Marshals to get out of there and when they ask him why he screams it because I don't want to get shot. It's like a little bit of comic relief to a very intense moment.
Ryan, pass the topic on to you.
How hot was Harrison Ford's wife in this movie? Like,
Oh,
damn, she's stunning.
I would have nailed her.
oh my god.
She won't return any of my calls.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Tell me, during the fight scenes, did you guys kind of close your eyes and still like pretend it was an Indiana Jones movie?
No, because I wouldn't be able to watch the movie with my eyes closed.
Oh, I mean, did you feel it?
Not really.
That Harrison Ford fight style, I love.
Yeah, you like on the subway when he's fighting like the one-armed guy. Like you get the feeling like it's doing the type of fighting they did back then, which is the whole grabbing and slapping around. Like you can tell it's fake, but it doesn't take you out of the movie. Anything else, Ryan?
Who was the character you had the most sympathy for?
I mean, that's an obvious answer. It's Dr. Kimball. The guy didn't murder his wife. They set that up pretty early in the movie.
Jeremy?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the obvious one. Speaking of Dr. Kimball, he has a lot of restraint. Like it just shows how good his character is in this movie.
Yeah, he didn't kill a single person in the movie.
I thought about that for the moment. It's like if I'm facing the man that killed my wife and I had the opportunity, would I be as strong as Dr. Kimball? No, sir. I'm stomping some teeth out. What about you, Ryan?
I'm gonna have to go with the one-armed man for reasons.
All right, Ryan. Who did he play?
He was in a show called Babylon 5 that I used to watch all the time. It
Reason.
was one of my favorite characters. But no, no, just messing. I would also say Dr. Kimball.
Yeah, the guy's just a corrupt
And
comic
also,
character.
Marshall Gerard. It's got to be tough, working with all those cut-ups.
He just needs a better posse. All right, Jeremy. Final thoughts.
As with most movies, I'm going to say this is one of my favorites. I have very, very fond memories watching this as a child. Growing up, I've rewatched it multiple times, but rewatching it just recently, I can understand the entire plot, and it is absolutely worth it.
Ryan. Final thoughts.
Stellar film. Kind of makes me want to go watch the television show. Also, there was a television show later, a television show reboot later with Tim Daly from Wings as Dr.
No,
Kimball.
They love rebooting this
I want to go watch
franchise.
that too. Yep. The Fugitive Cinematic Universe.
As for me, like I said, this was my first time watching it, and it absolutely blew me away. If you like these kind of pursuit movies where one person's the chaser and the other one's the runner, and you've got constant just run-ins and close calls, then you're absolutely gonna love this movie. So I highly recommend it.
is Jason born before Jason was born?
All right, so Jeremy, Today's scale, I was going to do the Harrison Ford scale, which originally was Raiders of the Lost Ark, Dial of Destiny, but that's our Indiana Jones scale. So to change it up, we're gonna throw our Harrison Ford Star Wars scale in there with The Empire Strikes Back to the Star Wars Holiday Special. Where would you rank this movie?
Empire Strikes Back.
What about you, Ryan?
Empire Strikes Back.
I've never watched the Holiday Special. I've heard it's bad though, but this goes up there with The Empire Strikes Back because some of the other Star Wars movies that Harrison Ford's in are kind of not as good as Empire Strikes Back, of course. But yeah.
Only going with The Empire Strikes Back because both of those movies have a guy with a prosthetic arm.
There's a prosthetic hand.
Which one?
Luke's.
Did he cut his arm off?
No, it was the hand.
Oh.
Got him like around the wrist.
Just haven't watched that one in a long time.
I'd be scared to admit how many times I've seen those movies.
Jeremy's a real Star Wars fan.
Yes, Die Hard.
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening to another episode of Tairimo Boys Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment telling us how much you love running from the police. Don't forget to ring that motherfucking bell. Stay tuned for more episodes.
We're going to call the U.S. Marshals on you.